Thank you very much. Thank you for being here, Mr. Chairman. There's so much all of us would like to discuss. Um, as I recall, the past few years since the passage of Dodd-Frank, we can see that major U.S. banks have managed to make themselves profitable again, but really the scandals still keep coming, and public trust in the integrity of the financial system, I think, is at an ebb. That is why I've been advocating for the swift implementation of the Wall Street Reform Law, strong enforcement of existing law, and for adequate funding for our regulators. But as I did last week at another hearing of this committee, I just want to remind us all, in just the last 2 years, we've seen the robo-signing of foreclosure documents, the robo-signing of credit card judgments, billions of dollars of put-back lawsuits over mortgage-backed securities, the failure of 2 major futures commission merchants, municipal bond bid rigging, alleged energy market manipulation, money laundering now for drug cartels, the losses of the London well, and the bungling of the Facebook initial public offering. And this is just a partial list, and it's capped off by what might be the most far-reaching scandal of all, LIBOR manipulation. One commentator, Andrew Lowe, a professor at MIT, has noted that this LIBOR fixing scandal dwarfs by orders of magnitude any financial scam in the history of the markets. I guess in all of this, let me just ask, as it relates to LIBOR, what are you going to do about primary dealers who we find have been involved in manipulating the information in order to look better? You have that responsibility. You determine, do you not, who the primary dealers are?
We determine who the primary dealers are. We don't necessarily regulate them. This particular issue is now under heavy coverage by CFTC, DOJ, SEC, and authorities from other countries as well, and I'm sure that they will follow through with every company involved.
As I understand it, the New York Fed may not regulate primary dealers, but they do set out business standards and technical requirements for primary dealers, and they can fire a primary dealer at any time. Are any going to be fired, do you know?
If there are questions raised about the integrity and competence of a primary dealer, yes. Could happen, certainly.
Okay, that's good to know. Let me just segue into something that perhaps you had not anticipated. Out in California, we have a number of cities that are filing bankruptcy, and a lot of this has to do with the housing crisis and the problems that they have. San Bernardino is one, of course, Stockton, and some time ago it was Vallejo. In San Bernardino, they've come up with some interesting discussion about how to use eminent domain in order to keep people in their homes. From what I can understand, they would access the properties through eminent domain, and then they would pay the fair market value. But the fair market value is different than what the mortgage agreement, because they're now underwater. And they would keep people in their homes and, of course, try and stabilize the housing. But what do you think about that?
I think it raises legal issues that I'm just not qualified to comment on. It's a very difficult set of problems that they're facing, and I'm very sympathetic to their attempts to try to address it. But whether this is a good vehicle or not, I simply I'm not qualified to answer the question.
Well, do you believe that these cities are taking action because they're just basically tired of waiting for us to solve the problems of the housing crisis? There's one thing that I think you were involved in with the OCC, and it had to do with the mitigation process for dealing with some of the issues of getting information out to some of the people who had been harmed and getting them compensated up to $125,000, I do believe, but only 8% returns. We have met with Chairman Frank and I, former Chairman Frank and I, have met with the OCC, and they talked about coming up with new outreach type programs, et cetera. Have you been in discussion with them about what you could do to do better outreach and get more people involved in responding?
We have. We've been trying really hard, done a lot of advertising, web-based, social media type communications. We've taken the GAO commentary and tried to incorporate that. But most recently, I understand we're trying to make a more community-based approach to reach out to churches and African-American groups and the like, and trying to get their assistance as well as home mortgage counselors. So yes, we're trying to address that.
Gentlelady's time.